Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, comrades and friends, my name is Dr. Ian Phillips, and there are some decisions that the government makes that appear merely foolish when they are announced. And then, reality arrives, maybe a month later, maybe a day later, maybe a week, but it performs that demonstration. Last year, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention dramatically scaled back FoodNet, one of the country's most important systems for actively tracking foodborne disease. Now, previously, this network monitored 8 major pathogens. Then the government reduced the required list to 2 pathogens. Right, salmonella remained, right, which salmonella, again, valid concern. Shiga toxin producing E. coli remained, again, valid concern. But active surveillance for 6 others, including Cyclospora, became optional. Again, I'll say that again, optional. And now, in the summer of 2026, the United States is confronting a rapidly growing outbreak of Cyclosporiasis, the intestinal illness caused by Cyclospora, and more than 1,000 people have already been reported sick through state investigations. Dozens have been hospitalized. Federal officials, again, know more than 1,500 additional cases that still require analysis, and we just still not know precisely what food caused it. Ladies and gentlemen, America has apparently developed a revolutionary public health strategy, right? We got to stop looking as carefully and then express some surprise when, things do not go our way, right? And, this is, governing by putting electrical tape, over a warning light. And that's not something that we want to see. Now, the engine's smoking, the dashboard is flashing, and something underneath the hood is now making a noise that is associated with industrial machinery failing and falling down a staircase. The Trump administration's answer to this, by the way, is that, quote, have we considered reducing the amount of information available to the driver, end quote. I mean, again, I'm just going to imagine that's what they said. I guess that's not an official quote, but let's be honest, that's kind of what it sounds like here. Now, before someone accused me of saying that Donald Trump personally created a microscopic parasite, right, in a laboratory beneath Mar-a-Lago, let us establish what is being, said and, what is not being claimed here. The surveillance reduction did not create Cyclospora. Again, there's no evidence that making FoodNet surveillance optional caused contaminated food to enter the supply chain. Right, the current source, again, it has not been identified here. And there may have been multiple outbreaks involving different foods and different distribution networks. Right, that is all true. We might not have even found it for a while. Right, that is all true. But what is equally true is that when an outbreak begins, our ability to recognize it, measure it, and compare it with previous years, identify patterns, and trace it to source depends upon surveillance. And the faster you catch it, the faster we can potentially remediate it. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be perfect. I'm not saying that you might have been able to do something. What I am saying is there's at least that chance. And so why would you risk all of your citizens getting sick? Maybe not all of your citizens, but, a good chunk of your citizens getting sick. It does not make sense for programs that don't really cost that much money. Now, again, you cannot contain what you cannot detect here. Right? You cannot investigate, what you do not count. Right, and you cannot credibly, boast that the government has become more efficient when the alleged efficiency consists of becoming less informed. I mean, we have dismantled Doge and got rid of Doge because it has not been working. Now, does the government need an audit and does the government need a rehaul? Absolutely, but the programs that we are cutting, they're almost like the last of the programs that we want to cut. Instead, how about this? Let me just throw something out here. Again, this is gonna sound nuts, but let me just throw something out here. If you're Amazon, for example, right? Or if you're, let's say, Tesla, or if you're SpaceX, right? You're a big company. I'm just saying, maybe you don't deserve certain tax breaks. Call me fucking crazy. But I'm just gonna say maybe we should sort of cut that out. But again, what do I know here? So, with that said here, this is like the stupidity of the moment, right? Cyclospora is not some imaginary disease, right, created by health bureaucrats to obtain grants. Right? It's a microscopic parasite that infects the intestine. And people generally acquire it by consuming food or water contaminated with human feces. And usually takes about a week for those symptoms to appear, although the incubation period can range from a couple of days to more than a couple of weeks. And as the signature symptom is prolonged watery diarrhea. How absolutely terrible is that? And not a slightly uncomfortable stomach at that. This is not one regrettable afternoon. This is like, frequent explosive bowel movements, something that you do not want to have. But it's spreading in the United States. And why? Again, the programs that were tracking these things were cut. And again, I'm not saying this might not have spread. It certainly could have, right? You can't predict anything, but you can at least try to get to the bottom of it a lot faster. And so, even if that downtime is another few days, Jesus, that saves so many people. The response time is, let's say a week faster. It saves so many people. But this is where we're at now. You're also going to get some cramps, nausea, fatigue with that, weight loss, bloating, vomiting, occasional fever. And without treatment, this illness can actually persist for weeks, disappear, and then return as though it has remembered an appointment. All right, the parasite has taken the concept of a limited engagement and rejected it. Most people, healthy people, recover. Healthy people recover, right? And the infection is usually treatable, with medication there. So, look, you'll probably end up being fine if you got it here. But in the same breath there, dozens of Americans have also been hospitalized during the current surge. And the disease can be especially serious for people with weakened immune systems. All right? And again, it's also difficult to investigate. Cyclospora does not ordinarily spread directly from one person to another because the parasite must spend time outside the body before becoming infectious. Again, that means investigators are generally looking for contaminated food or water. Past American outbreaks have been connected to products such as raspberries, basil, lettuce, cilantro, snow peas. I don't think anybody, over the age of probably 20 does not remember the whole Chipotle epidemic where Chipotle just absolutely got ravaged in their sales for lettuce, which, man, who even wants to eat lettuce anyways, dude? I'm not like, what, I look like a rabbit? I don't know. I get lettuce on my burrito, but what I am going to say here is that Chipotle should bounce back because it's absolutely delicious. It would be great if they could sponsor me when I get one of those Chipotle black cards. Who doesn't want that? But this fresh produce, it moves through a pretty complex system here. One contaminated ingredient may be shipped to restaurants, grocery stores, food processors, catered events, institutional kitchens across several different states. And you could say, okay, well, wouldn't that be easier for it to track then? And the answer is yes, but you know how things fly. But by the time it's already, at these all different locations, now all of a sudden it's spreading like wildfire. And a person becomes ill a week later and is asked what they ate. And they're like, well, what did you eat 9 days ago? Now, I don't know about you, but I can barely remember what I ate 2 days ago, let alone 9 days ago. And so, was there cilantro in it? Was there basil? I don't know if there was cilantro or basil, and I'm just trying to eat, man. And, what kind of salad did you get, bro? I don't know. I'm just surviving. I'm trying to live here. And, and was this, ingredient placed in, 5 dishes under 5 different names? Good luck, right? So this is detective work here that needs to be conducted with very careful pragmatism here. But, when the government decides that, look, we're going to be cutting all these various different programs, well, then all of a sudden that detection and that, that seriousness starts to get, this is sort of acting like a bulwark, right? Because if you're not going to overcome the funding problem, right, you need money to do these things, right? This is not cheap. It's not free. And so, honestly, this is a problem about prioritization here, right? That's really what it comes down to at the end of the day. The government is not prioritizing the right things. And you could say, well, is there lots of waste in the government? Absolutely. Look, dude, all different types of things are things that we don't necessarily need to be spending money on. Believe me. And if you gave me a list of 100 of them, I'm sure I could probably come back with probably at least 70 which need to be cut. But when it comes to preventing disease, something that could easily take out a society, as a teacher and student of history myself here, when I think about disease, the first thing that pops up in my mind is things like the Black Death. And then, you can go back to something like COVID. Imagine if COVID was 100 times worse, right? And just ravaged your population. It's wouldn't you think that you probably wanted to get on top of that, from the get-go? And again, I'm not saying that you're eating everything. It's like the flu shot, right? Flu shots half the time don't even work. Most of the time they don't even work because, again, you're just sort of guessing as to what flu strains might be out there. It's but in the same breath, developing some of these technologies and maybe making them available to the people, whether or not that's some guy behind the scenes, behind a curtain, you're sort of doing his investigative work with his little magnifying glass, or is that somebody, just the average person being able to get a vaccine? These are things that need to be done and taken into consideration on behalf of our tax dollars and our paying citizens here, because where else is my money going? Why are we protecting Epstein over here, but we can't even get, basic monitoring for diseases? I don't know. Seems crazy to me. But that's the United States of America, bro, right? We all voted for this, bro. And so with that said, guys, if you did enjoy the video here today, please be sure to hit that like and subscribe button for some more content. My name's Dr. Ian Phillips, and you can follow me on social media at Ian Phillips USA. Links down below. And with that said, share that with your friends. A little bit about the epidemic going on here. It's not fun, not cool, but we'll see how this progresses. No shortage of things have happened in the United States in the past, 10 years. I mean, I'm sure lots of us can name everything from the swine flu to swine flu times 2 to, just you name it, right? I mean, there's a whole bunch of things that always go on. And sometimes, things sort of fade away, but other times, they really catch on. And so I guess we'll have to see here. But either way, the crux of the issue remains government shouldn't be doing stupid things. And when they do stupid things, we should be calling it out there, right? Again, that's part of the whole democratic process. And so at least let's stay cognizant of what's going on in our country with our tax dollars. So with that said, guys, we'll talk to you later, and peace.